Alright Exile, we're back in the world of Path of Exile 2. We got a pretty juicy one in this video today. There has been a ton of new information that's come to light over the past week or so. Actually been waiting the last couple of days to compile all the new information. But we got some new gameplay walkthroughs of Path of Exile 2 with Jonathan and Sony, where they just showcased some brand new information that's actually pretty cool. We got to see the Mercenary in action, we got to see a lot of new areas and new monsters, and just overall some really cool reveals. On top of that, we also seen some new footage of Mercenary, and most importantly, we saw a lot of new Mercenary skills that has some people in the community a little concerned. It's a little bit divided. Some people are happy, some people are concerned. We'll talk about that in a second. And then finally, we got to see some brand new updates on the artwork for Path of Exile's unique items. The art team has been putting a lot of work in to make the uniques look a lot better. And we got some images and stuff that goes over that. So we're going to be talking about that in here in this video. Just keep in mind, before we dive into the news, I'm going to be covering all things Path of Exile 2 leading into the launch of the game. So if you guys want to stay informed about all things related to it, you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel. So subscribe to the channel to stay up to date. And yeah, let's dive right on into the new information. So first things first, I want to go over the gameplay where Jonathan sat down with the initiative director, Mr. Yoshida. He was formerly the president of Sony, but now he's the head of Indie Initiative. Not exactly sure what that means as far as the role. But yeah, they had a really cool sit down where they went over quite a few zones that you're going to be seeing on the screen now. They had a 32-minute, it's a full-fledged 32-minute video. I have that linked down in the description so you can check out yourself, of course. And in this video, we go over a ton of new gameplay, a bunch of new zones that we've never seen in the past. One specifically, the area you're seeing on screen now, where we only seen screenshots previously. This is a brand new, reminds me of Act 7 a little bit to some degree, and it has this like tribal village kind of feel to it. From what I can tell, this seems to be taking place in the past, or at least it seemed like it based on some of the lore elements that we're seeing here, especially with the Viper. Or it could just be a recap or something. I don't know. I didn't play the game yet, so who knows. But overall, we got to see some really cool skills, at least a skill I don't think I've ever seen, which was this huge bell skill where he drops a bell and he kind of hits. Reminds me of Monk a little bit from Diablo 3, sorry. But we got to see some brand new bosses and some new monsters, so it was really cool. Now, the reason why I'm specifically talking about this part of the video is because there was something that was very interesting that was brought to the attention of the player, and that was the fact that they said that the campaign is going to be 50 hours long. Now, this is one of the biggest debates or one of the biggest conversations going on in the Path of Exile community. If you've never played Path of Exile 1, I think, in my opinion, one of the things that a lot of players dislike a lot about it is the fact that you have to rerun the entire campaign every single season. Now, that doesn't seem bad to maybe the average player, but a lot of us have been playing for about a decade at this point. We've done the campaign for a very long time, but one of the biggest nuisances in the game is redoing the campaign. Obviously, initially, the game is going to be new, so a lot of us are just going to be excited to play. But I do expect sometime down the line, this is going to introduce the same burnout a lot of us feel right now. Now, one thing that's really important to note, the difference between Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2 is 50 hours is significant. Right now, at least for me, as a player right now, I can complete the campaign in about 7 hours. That's like half a day of playing. So, you know, that's not that crazy, but it's still a lot of burnout. With 50 hours, that's a pretty insane long amount of time to commit to a campaign when the real game, and this is just how I perceive the game and how Path of Exile has always been and ARPGs have always been, the game doesn't really start until the end game, and campaign is kind of just a extended tutorial. So obviously 50 hours spent in the tutorial is not that appealing for a lot of players, especially when you have to re-level every single season. Now, one thing I did want to add to this, and this is really important for people to understand, is I don't believe what they mean by 50 hours is 50 hours of raw gameplay for a player like me who've been playing for a decade. What I believe they mean by this is 50 hours for a player who is brand new to the game, or maybe even your first playthrough. You're not familiar with how the mechanics work, because a lot of us are going to be dying from what I can tell with how the pacing of the game seems a little bit. But I do believe what they mean by the 50 hours is the fact that we're going to have 50 hours if you're new to the game. When I played Path of Exile 1, I played back in 2013, and I came back, I played a few seasons, and then I came back when Metamorph League started, and that took me at least like 6 or 7 days to complete the campaign, and that was because I was new, I didn't understand the mechanics. The Metamorphs were admittedly really overtuned. I don't know if you guys remember how OP Metamorphs were when the league started. I still have PTSD from that league, but yeah, it was a long experience. It took me a long time to finish it, and this is what I think they mean by this. So I know a lot of people in the community are a little concerned that it's going to be too long, Some people are very happy about a 50-hour campaign. For me personally, I'm expecting it to be something like a 12-hour campaign, ideally, hopefully less, because I do think this is one of the biggest problems Path of Exile 1 has, where players just don't like the idea of having a lone campaign. And I do think for the overall health of the game, not burning players out by year in, year out doing the same campaign is going to be, healthy. But again, we still have to kind of see. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this specific subject. Again, this is something a lot of players are talking about. And moving on to the other news that we saw recently, and this was some brand new skills that came to light for the Mercenary, some that are sparking some interesting debate in the community. I want to talk about all three of the skills that we saw right now. First off, we got to see Voltic Grenade and Plasma Blast. These are two at least seemingly electric based skills. At least Plasma Blast seem electric to me, because when you see the footage they get like an electric aura to them. But yeah, we got two new skills. Voltic Grenade, what this does is it'll shoot out a grenade. After a delay, it seems to trigger, and then it does something similar to a freeze, but an electric version of it. It's not shock, because shock make them take more damage. This is like electrocute or something like that. I think that's what they're classifying it as. And this just kind of freezes the enemy and make it so that they can't fight back. I'm assuming this is going to have synergies because they're using Plasma Blast, and Plasma Blast comes off as electric, so I'm assuming they have some synergies. I imagine Voltic Grenade may actually make them a little bit more resistant. I'm kind of speculating a little bit here, but maybe it makes them a little less resistant, make them vulnerable, and then you can use Plasma Blast and kill them. That's kind of what we saw in here. I did want to point out Plasma Blast did have a extended cast time before it kind of came out, and it did absolutely decimate those mobs. I do believe they are actually white mobs, so they're not necessarily the strongest. But with that said, one thing to come to mind is if this skill is worth using, because if this has such a long cast time, is this worth using over something that has a faster cast animation? Is the damage justified? This is actually one of the things that's going to concern me the most about Path of Exile 2 that I haven't really talked about in the in any video, which I'm going to do in the next couple of days. Is I'm concerned that some of the skills are going to have very long cast animations. They're going to do very long prolonged time of you just standing still and being vulnerable, and I'm not sure if all these things are going to have a good risk versus reward factor. I think Path of Exile 1 kind of has this problem a lot, especially with the melee classes, at least in previous patches they did. It's a lot better now, but I mean, we're a decade in and it's better now. But I'm a little concerned that maybe these skills may have too long of a cast animation or a cast delay, and they may not be as rewarding as other skills. I would like to hope that they balance them really well, but this is my major concern. This is something I see a lot of people talk about in the community as well because of the long cast animation. But ultimately, the skills look cool. We're going to have to see how they play. Now, we also did see another skill called Cluster Grenade. This is one of the skills that is getting a lot of heat when it comes to it, because if you're looking at the footage of what I've shown so far, this skill absolutely decimates everything on screen. So that's one of the biggest talking points in the community, because a lot of players are concerned that skills like this is kind of becoming a one button skill. And that's kind of something I felt like Path of Exile 2 was trying to move away from. But I did want to give my perspective on this, because I do feel like there's a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to what Path of Exile is planning to be, or at least aiming to be. I do think that Path of Exile 2 is moving in the direction of you having multiple skills, them getting rid of the slot system within your armor, and just generally being able to swap between multiple weapons and multiple builds on the fly is something that GGG is definitely pushing heavy towards. And the reason for that is because they want to push players in the direction of using a mobbing and using a bossing skill. And that's something I think a lot of players don't realize or have to get comfortable with, because this is actually really important. One of the biggest problems that melee face right now, at least in Path of Exile 1, I can't speak on range, but melee face, is the fact that a lot of their better skills are either good at killing mobs or good at killing bosses, and it's not necessarily easy to swap between them. Of course, we can single out one or two skills like slams that do really well for my melee players who know, but when it comes down to it, a lot of their skills are very not great for doing one or the other, and that's something, and it's not necessarily easy to swap between them. Using Bone Zone for a great example of this is really good at killing mobs, but when it comes to facing off against bosses, it's just generally not as good. Takes a lot of ramp up time, leaves you vulnerable, and it's not as good as using it for mobbing. So this is like one of the biggest problems Path of Exile 1 has. And so when we look at footage like this in Path of Exile 2, I do think that there is a purpose for each individual skill. Some skills are designed to kill mobs and some skills are designed to kill bosses. We can't really necessarily see what the cluster grenade actually has on it. It could be completely 6-link. It's not uncommon for GGG to have a weapon being extremely egregiously stronger than where they are, where they showcased a white weapon that was like abnormally crazy high on damage and stuff like that. So this could just be a case of them just showing off something that is egregiously stronger than what you naturally would see. Keep in mind, I don't think they're trying to show off any of the in-game content. They're trying to show off what they have, but they want to actually show off the power of the new skill set they have. So the best way to do it is doing it in the acts that we've seen already and not like spoiling the in-game. This is pure speculation. This very well could just be the skills overtuned because, you know, it is a early access and it's not going to necessarily be the most balanced game. But in my opinion, I think this is actually pretty healthy for the game. Let me know down in the comments what you think about the whole situation. Are you for skills like this? I'm actually for it because I think being able to kill is really nice. Or are you against it? You want that more slower, methodical playstyle that we've seen a lot of so far. But yeah, let me know down in the comments. Finally, quickly wrapping this video up, we have some uniques that the dev team just showcased in a recent post where we got to see a rework on a lot of the fan favorite items like Gold Ram and Wanderlust, where the art team did a really good job at just reimagining the items, giving them a brand new fresh look, that making them look significantly more so of their description. Some of their names got reworked as well. I'm not sure if this means that their like physical attributes are going to change, if like their affixes are different, but ultimately the unique got a fresh look and it looks really amazing. I have a side-by-side comparison of all the previous examples and now the new style. Let me know what you think, which ones you like the most. I think the gold rims look amazing. I'm a big fan of it. Sorry about the delay in the Path of Exile videos. I've been dealing with some stuff at home, but you know, we're finally getting back into it. This was a lot of great updates, a lot of cool stuff. It's really great to see Sony, you know, liking what they're seeing here. I'm not familiar with their background in gaming or anything like that, but he looked like he was having a good time. And that's always a good sign when someone who's like not really what you perceive as a gamer really having a good time playing the game. So I think that was really cool to see. But yeah, let me know everyone down in the comments what you think. Don't forget to leave me a like as well as subscribe for more PoE 2 content. And Exiles, I'll see you in the next one very soon.